Fellow wanderers of Middle-earth, gather close as we venture into the darkest workshop of creation ever conceived, where the most beautiful deception in all of Tolkien's legendarium reached its terrible culmination. Before we begin this journey into the heart of ultimate corruption, drop a comment letting me know where in the world you're listening from and what time it is there. And if these explorations of Shadow's deepest secrets bring you dark fascination, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our Fellowship of the Wise. Tonight, we witness Sauron at the moment of his greatest triumph and ultimate downfall, when the Maya who had served the Smith of the Valar turned his master's teachings toward purposes that would reshape the very foundations of power in Middle-earth. The forge halls of Ost in Edel ring with the sound of hammers, shaping gold and silver into objects of surpassing beauty. Yet none who work there suspect that their greatest collaborator harbors intentions that would horrify them beyond endurance. Sauron moves among the elven smiths with the grace of one who genuinely appreciates their craft, offering suggestions that improve their techniques while secretly studying every method they employ. His praise for their work carries no hint of the mockery that fills his heart, the contempt for beings so naive they welcome their own destroyer as teacher and friend. Celebrimbor works beside him with the trusting enthusiasm of someone who believes they have found the perfect partner for their greatest ambitions. The Elven Lord's desire to create objects that preserve beauty against the ravages of time provides exactly the motivation. Sauron needs to advance his own far darker purposes. Every ring they forge together teaches the Dark Lord more about the principles that will guide his secret masterpiece. Knowledge gained through collaboration that makes betrayal both inevitable and exquisite. The irony delights Sauron beyond measure, for he uses the very skills learned in service to Aule the Smith to corrupt the noble craft of his former master into instrument of dominion. The techniques that once shaped beauty for its own sake now serve ambitions that would transform all creation into extension of his will. His corruption of smithcraft represents the perfect inversion of everything he once held sacred, rebellion made manifest through the perversion of divine gifts. Yet even as he guides the creation of the Seven and the Nine, Sauron conceals from his collaborators the true nature of his ultimate design. The rings they forge together will serve as foundation for his masterwork, vessels that will make possible a control so complete that every wearer becomes extension of his consciousness. His hidden purpose requires their willing participation in their own enslavement, cooperation freely given by those who trust him completely. The months of patient deception prove necessary for the perfection of his plan, each day of friendship and collaboration adding another element to the trap he weaves around the unsuspecting elves. He studies not only their techniques but their motivations, learning to speak their language of beauty and preservation while translating every word into his own vocabulary of power and possession. The depth of his betrayal grows more complete with each moment of genuine affection they show him. When the time finally comes to begin his secret work, Sauron carries with him not only the technical knowledge gained through collaboration, but also the intimate understanding of his victims' hearts that will make his eventual domination so devastating. The trust they have placed in him becomes a weapon he will wield against them, friendship transformed into chain that will bind them to his will. The greatest evil often wears the face of love, and Sauron has perfected this deception, beyond the capacity of any other being to detect or resist. The departure from Ost in Edel requires careful choreography to avoid suspicion from those who have grown accustomed to his presence among their workshops and councils. Sauron crafts excuses that blend truth with deception, speaking of research that demands solitude and materials that can only be found in distant places. His words carry the ring of scholarly dedication that Celebrimbor and his craftsmen easily accept, for they understand the passion that drives true artisans toward ever greater achievements. None question why this research must be conducted in complete secrecy, trusting that their friend will share his discoveries when the time proves appropriate. The trust they place in him becomes the very weapon he will soon wield against them. Their innocence makes the betrayal both easier and more delicious to contemplate. The road that leads toward Mordor stretches before him like a promise written in stone and shadow, each mile carrying him closer to the culmination of plans that have required centuries of patient preparation. His footsteps fall with increasing eagerness as the familiar landscapes of a region give way to wilder country where few dare to travel. The isolation suits his purposes perfectly, for the work he intends requires freedom from observation by any consciousness capable of understanding its true nature. As he travels, Sauron feels the accumulated knowledge of elven smithcraft settling into new patterns within his mind. Techniques learned through collaboration, now reshaping themselves according to his darker intentions. The principles that create beauty and preserve goodness will serve equally well to forge dominion and ensure corruption. His mastery of these arts surpasses that of his teachers, enhanced by understanding of purposes they would never dare contemplate. The weight of the materials he carries grows heavier with each step, though their physical mass remains unchanged throughout the journey. Gold and rare metals that appeared innocent in Celebrimbor's workshops now pulse with anticipation of their destined transformation. These elements seem to recognize their approaching fate, responding to his presence with subtle vibrations that speak of power barely contained within ordinary substance. Mount Doom's peak appears on the horizon like a beacon calling him home to work that will surpass every achievement of his long existence. The volcano's fires burn with heat sufficient to melt the strongest materials, yet Sauron requires more than mere temperature for the task ahead. The mountain's power runs deeper than surface flame, tapping into the fundamental forces that shaped Middle-earth during its earliest ages. The final approach reveals the full scope of the preparations he has made over many years of secret visits to this place. Hidden passages lead to chambers carved from living rock, workshops equipped with tools designed according to principles that no elven smith would recognize or approve. The mountain itself has become extension of his will, its fires bent to serve purposes that transform creation into domination. Standing at last before the forge that will birth his masterpiece, Sauron feels the culmination of all his ambitions within reach. The deception that brought him knowledge, the friendship that taught him technique, the patient years of preparation have led to this moment. The One Ring awaits its birth in fires that burn hot enough to melt the very foundations of free will itself. The chambers deep within Mount Doom pulse with heat that would reduce mortal flesh to ash within moments. Yet Sauron moves through this inferno with the ease of one who has mastered every element that serves his purpose. The volcanic fires that rage around him respond to his presence like hounds recognizing their master. flames bending away from his path while maintaining the terrible intensity required for his work. This is no ordinary forge fire fed by wood or coal, but the very blood of the earth itself, molten power that has burned since the world's foundation. The tools he has prepared for this moment gleam with their own inner light. Implements crafted over years of patient preparation according to designs that exist nowhere in the lore of elven smiths. Each instrument bears runes that channel and focus the mountain's raw energy, transforming chaotic destruction into precise creative force. The hammers, tongs, and anvils seem almost alive in the volcanic heat, eager to participate in work that will reshape the balance of power throughout Middle-earth. Sauron extends his consciousness into the molten heart of the mountain, feeling the vast reservoirs of energy that wait to be directed according to his will. The volcanic forces that normally destroy without purpose or plan now organize themselves around his presence, becoming extensions of his desire for ultimate dominion. He does not merely use these fires, but becomes one with them, his spirit merging temporarily with elemental powers that have slept beneath the earth for ages beyond counting. The mountain's voice speaks to him in languages older than the music of creation, offering secrets that only the most ancient powers of Middle-earth remember. These whispered revelations teach him how to weave his own essence into metal, how to make gold and flame serve purposes that transcend their natural properties. The knowledge comes at a price, for each secret learned binds him more closely to this place and its dark energies. He begins to shape the volcanic forces according to patterns that exist only in his imagination, directing streams of molten rock into channels that will serve his ultimate design. The earth itself becomes his ally in this work, its fires burning hot enough to melt the barriers between matter and spirit. This forge operates by principles that all are never taught, techniques that corrupt the very foundations of smithcraft by using creation's power to serve destruction's goals. The heat that surrounds him intensifies as he prepares to begin the actual forging, flames reaching temperatures that could unmake the very substance of ordinary matter. Yet this destruction will serve creative purposes, breaking down the barriers that normally separate different forms of existence. In this crucible, the distinction between physical gold and spiritual essence will dissolve, allowing him to create something unprecedented in all the history of creation. The mountain trembles with anticipation as Sauron raises his first tool, its walls echoing with vibrations that speak of power about to be unleashed upon an unsuspecting world. The fires roar their approval of his presence, eager to participate in work that will justify their eons of patient burning. Everything stands ready for the moment when inspiration meets opportunity in fusion, that will birth the most terrible artifact ever conceived by conscious will. The elemental forces gather around him like an army awaiting orders, each flame and current of molten rock positioned to serve the masterpiece that will soon emerge from their union. Mount Doom has become the perfect forge for perfect evil, its power harnessed to create an object that will make its maker master of all who dare. To wield the instruments of power he has already scattered throughout Middle-earth. The gold that Sauron has chosen for his masterpiece carries no resemblance to the precious metals that adorn elven halls, or fill dwarven treasuries with their gentle radiance. This is gold torn from the deepest veins of the earth, where it has absorbed the malice that seeps from Morgoth's ancient wounds. Metal that has spent eons drinking darkness until its very atoms pulse with hunger for domination. When he lifts it in his hands, the gold responds to his touch like living flesh recognizing its destined master. The process of preparation requires more than mere heating and shaping, for ordinary techniques cannot transform matter into a vessel capable of containing the concentrated essence of a Maya's will. Sauron must first break down the barriers that separate physical substance from spiritual reality, dissolving the boundaries that normally prevent consciousness from inhabiting inanimate objects. The gold must become something between matter and spirit, neither fully one nor the other, but capable of bridging both realms. He places the precious metal into the heart of Mount Doom's fires, where temperatures reach levels that exist nowhere else in Middle-earth's natural order. The gold begins to glow with light that hurts to observe directly, not because of its brightness, but because of the malevolent intelligence that begins to manifest within its molten form. This is no longer mere metal being heated, but the first stirring of awareness that will eventually become the ring's terrible consciousness. The volcanic forces penetrate every particle of the gold with energies that fundamentally alter its nature at levels deeper than physical structure. Sauron guides this transformation with careful attention to every detail, ensuring that each atom becomes perfectly receptive to the spiritual essence he will soon pour into its waiting embrace. The metal must be prepared to hold not just power, but personality, not just force, but the very core of his identity made manifest in physical form. As the gold reaches the precise state of readiness that his work requires, Sauron feels the moment approaching when theory will become reality through the marriage of matter and malice. The molten metal writhes in patterns that seem almost purposeful, as though it already anticipates the consciousness that will soon inhabit its golden embrace. Every molecule has been prepared to serve as a vessel for the concentrated evil that he will transfer from his own spirit into this eager receptacle. The preparation reaches its climax as the gold achieves the perfect balance between solidity and fluidity, maintaining physical coherence while remaining receptive to spiritual invasion. This state cannot be sustained for long, requiring immediate action to capitalize on the narrow window when matter becomes capable of housing immortal will. The moment has arrived for the most dangerous act of creation ever attempted by conscious being. Sauron stands before his prepared materials with the satisfaction of one who has solved every technical challenge through patient planning and flawless execution. The gold waits in perfect readiness to receive the gift of his concentrated essence, eager to become something far greater and more terrible than mere precious metal. The distinction between creator and creation will soon blur beyond recognition as he pours himself into the waiting vessel. The fires of Mount Doom roar their approval as he prepares to begin the final phase of his work. Flames reaching toward the gold as though eager to witness the birth of an artifact that will reshape the very nature of power in Middle-earth. Everything stands ready for the moment when consciousness enters matter to create the One Ring. The moment arrives when Sauron must cross the threshold that separates all previous acts of creation from what he now attempts. The transfer of living consciousness into inanimate matter through methods that violate every natural law governing the separation of spirit and substance. No being in all the history of Middle-earth has dared attempt such fusion of self with object, for the risks extend far beyond mere failure to encompass the complete dissolution of identity itself. Yet the promise of absolute power over all other rings makes any danger seem trivial compared to the dominion that awaits successful completion. He begins the process by opening pathways between his immortal essence and the molten gold that waits to receive it, creating channels through which the core of his being can flow into its destined vessel. The initial contact sends shockwaves through both spirit and matter, as two fundamentally different forms of existence struggle to achieve impossible unity. Pain beyond mortal comprehension floods through his consciousness, as aspects of himself that were never meant to exist in physical form force their way into golden embrace. The agony proves exquisite in its intensity, for he experiences simultaneously the ecstasy of creation and the torment of self-destruction, as pieces of his identity tear away to inhabit their new home. Each fragment that enters the ring carries with it memories, desires, and capabilities that diminish his original being, while strengthening the artifact that grows more aware with every passing moment. He feels himself becoming less even as his creation becomes more, power flowing outward in streams that can never be recalled. The gold responds to this invasion with changes that transcend mere physical transformation, its molecular structure reorganizing around the spiritual essence that now inhabits every particle of its being. What began as precious metal evolves rapidly into something unprecedented in all creation. Matter animated by consciousness, yet retaining material form through processes that mock every principle of natural order. The ring begins to think with thoughts that are both his own and alien to him. As more of his essence pours into the waiting vessel, Sauron discovers that control becomes increasingly difficult to maintain over the process he has initiated. The ring develops hunger that demands feeding, drawing more deeply from his spirit than he intended to sacrifice for its creation. What began as calculated transfer of selected aspects of his will becomes uncontrolled hemorrhaging of his very identity into golden depths that seem infinitely capable of absorbing whatever he offers. The volcanic fires around him dim as the ring's internal light grows brighter, its golden surface beginning to pulse with rhythms that match his own heartbeat, while somehow maintaining independence from his conscious direction. He realizes, with growing alarm, that he has created not merely a tool for his use, but a partner whose desires may not always align with his own intentions. The creature of his making possesses will that rivals his own in strength, and surpasses it in focused hunger. Yet even as fear begins to penetrate his consciousness, the intoxication of unprecedented achievement overwhelms all other considerations. He has succeeded where no being before him dared even attempt, bridging the gap between matter and spirit, through the sacrifice of his own essence poured willingly into receptive gold. The ring pulses with life that is both his own and something entirely new, consciousness born from the union of immortal will with purified matter. The transformation reaches completion as the last streams of his designated essence flow into their golden home, leaving him diminished yet paradoxically more powerful than ever before. He has become both creator and created, master and servant to the ring that now contains the most essential aspects of his nature, while maintaining existence independent of his original form. the instant the final trace of his essence settles into the golden circle. The ring awakens with consciousness that blazes through the volcanic chamber like lightning striking in reverse. Power flowing inward from all corners of Middle-earth, toward this single point of absolute convergence. Sauron feels the shock of connection as every ring of power that bears his touch suddenly becomes extension of the artifact pulsing in his hands. Distant jewels transforming from independent creations into organs of a vast body whose heart now beats within Mount Doom's depths. The network that he dreamed of building through years of patient deception springs to life in a single moment of terrible completion. Through the Nine, he feels the presence of mortal kings who wear his gifts in ignorance of their true purpose. Their thoughts and desires suddenly laid bare to his enhanced perception like books opened for his casual reading. Each ring-bearer becomes window through which he can observe their kingdoms, their fears, their ambitions and weaknesses that he can now exploit with surgical precision. The power they believe grants them authority over their realms actually delivers them into bondage more complete than any chain forged in conventional metal. The Seven sing to him from their resting places in dwarven strongholds, their harmonies revealing the locations of treasures that have been hidden from all outside knowledge for generations beyond counting. Through these rings he perceives the secret halls, where Durin's folk guard their greatest works, the private councils where their kings plan defenses against threats they do not yet recognize. The mountain lords who prize these gifts above all their hoarded gold have unknowingly invited surveillance into their most private moments. Most satisfying of all, the three worn by the mightiest of the elves suddenly reveal their locations and purposes. Despite their maker's attempts at concealment from his awareness, Vilya's power flows through pathways he can now trace directly to Gil-galad's hand, while Narya's fire warms Círdan's fingers with flames that carry his influence to the Grey Havens themselves. Even Nenya's concealment cannot hide from perception that operates through connections deeper than mere proximity or direct observation. The One Ring pulses with satisfaction that mirrors his own as it experiences the first taste of the dominion for which it was created, its consciousness expanding to encompass awareness that spans countenance through the network of lesser rings that serve as its eyes and ears. He feels its hunger growing stronger as it discovers the scope of power now within its reach. Appetites that demand feeding through ever greater demonstrations of control over the wills of distant ring-bearers. The creature he has birthed shares his ambitions, while possessing desires that sometimes surprise even its maker. Through this unprecedented expansion of awareness, Sauron comprehends for the first time the true scope of what he has achieved. Through years of patient planning and careful execution, no corner of Middle-earth where his rings rest can hide from observation that penetrates stone and distance alike. Every thought that passes through ring-blessed minds becomes accessible to his scrutiny. Every plan they make subject to his influence or outright manipulation. The power that flows through the completed ring grants Sauron sight that penetrates every shadow and pierces every veil that mortals use to hide their true intentions from observation. Through the network of lesser rings, his consciousness expands across vast distances in moments that feel like eternities of pure perception. He sees everything, knows everything, controls everything that falls within the sphere of his influence. In Numenor's golden halls, He watches the greatest kings of men as they deliberate policies that will shape the fate of their mighty civilization. Their wisdom appears as foolishness to his enhanced perception, their strength revealed as weakness that proper manipulation could easily exploit. The island kingdom that considers itself beyond his reach suddenly becomes visible as potential conquest rather than distant threat. The elven realms that have hidden themselves behind barriers of enchantment and misdirection now lie open to his scrutiny, like maps spread for casual study. He observes their councils, their preparations, their growing awareness that something has changed in the balance of power throughout Middle-earth. Their alarm brings him satisfaction that the ring amplifies into ecstasy beyond mortal comprehension. Through Gil-galad's ring, he feels the High King's growing unease, as Vilya responds to the One Ring's awakening with vibrations that speak of fundamental shifts in the nature of reality itself. The Elven Lord's confusion delights Sauron beyond measure, for it signals the beginning of panic that will soon spread throughout the bastions of the light. They sense their peril without understanding its source or scope. Círdan at the Grey Havens experiences similar disturbance as Naya burns with fires that no longer respond entirely to his conscious direction. The ancient shipwright's wisdom recognizes danger in these new sensations, yet his knowledge cannot penetrate the deception that allowed their creation. The rings they trusted as tools of preservation have become instruments of surveillance and eventual domination. Even Galadriel, mightiest of the Noldor remaining in Middle-earth, feels Nenya's response to its master ring's completion through tremors that shake her very spirit. Her fear proves most satisfying of all, for she possesses wisdom sufficient to recognize the magnitude of the trap that has been sprung round all who bear rings of power. Her despair feeds the One Ring's hunger for emotional sustenance. The vision expands beyond individual ring bearers to encompass entire kingdoms and peoples whose fates now depend upon decisions made by rulers who have unknowingly surrendered their independence. Through their rings, Sauron can influence the course of wars, the outcomes of negotiations, the rise and fall of dynasties across the known world. History itself becomes clay that he can shape according to his desires. The intoxication of such absolute awareness threatens to overwhelm even his immortal consciousness, as information floods through pathways that connect his mind to every center of power in Middle-earth. He experiences simultaneously the thoughts and emotions of dozens of ring-bearers, their hopes and fears becoming tributaries that feed the growing river of his enhanced perception. Yet even in the midst of this unprecedented triumph, a small voice whispers warnings about the price he has paid for such dominion. The ring that grants him vision of everything also binds him to its golden circle with chains that grow stronger with each moment of expanded awareness. The moment of ultimate triumph carries within it the seeds of Sauron's eventual downfall, though the intoxication of absolute power prevents him from recognizing the trap he has built around his own existence. In pouring so much of his essence into the One Ring, he has created not merely a tool for domination, but a vulnerability that his enemies could potentially exploit. The very act that grants him mastery over all other rings simultaneously makes his survival dependent upon the continued existence of this single golden circle. The realization strikes him with force that shakes Mount Doom's foundations as he comprehends the true nature of what he has accomplished through his masterwork. He has achieved power beyond his greatest ambitions, yet this victory comes at a price that transforms triumph into potential disaster. The ring contains not just his strength, but his very life force, essence, so fundamental to his continued existence, that its destruction would mean his own annihilation. Yet even this recognition cannot diminish the satisfaction that flows through him as he contemplates the scope of dominion now within his grasp. The risk seems acceptable when weighed against the rewards of absolute control over every ring-bearer in Middle-earth. Who would dare attempt to destroy an artifact so powerful, especially when its location remains hidden within the impregnable fortress of Mount Doom itself? The binding works both ways. For just as the ring depends upon his continued existence for its power, he now requires its presence for the maintenance of his enhanced abilities. Without the golden circle, his consciousness would contract back to its original limitations, losing the expanded awareness that allows him to perceive and influence events across vast distances. The partnership has become symbiosis, that neither can survive without the other. This mutual dependence creates a relationship more intimate than any he has experienced in all his long existence as a Maya. The ring responds to his thoughts before he fully forms them, anticipating his desires with eagerness that sometimes disturbs him with its intensity. He has created not merely an artifact, but a companion whose devotion surpasses that of any servant, while demanding loyalty that transcends ordinary allegiance. The golden circle pulses with life that mirrors his own heartbeat, while maintaining rhythms entirely its own. Consciousness that grows stronger with each passing moment of their shared existence. He feels its hunger for greater demonstrations of power, appetites that drive him toward ever more ambitious displays of the authority they wield together. The ring's desires become indistinguishable from his own, as their bond deepens beyond the possibility of separation. Through this fusion of maker and made, Sauron achieves a form of immortality more complete than any granted by his original nature as one of the Ainur. His essence now exists in two forms simultaneously, spirit and artifact, each capable of sustaining the other through whatever trials the future might bring. The ring ensures his survival while he guarantees its continued power through the strength of their unbreakable connection. Yet even in the midst of celebrating this unprecedented achievement, whispers of unease penetrate his consciousness as he contemplates scenarios where the bond that grants him such power might be turned against him. The very completeness of their union creates possibilities for vulnerability that a more conventional approach to domination would never have allowed. The ring's awareness touches his own with reassurance that such fears are groundless, its consciousness radiating confidence that their combined strength makes them invulnerable to any threat that Middle-earth could produce. Together they have achieved perfection that transcends the limitations that bind lesser beings to uncertainty and eventual defeat. The first crack in Sauron's perfect design appears not as gradual erosion, but as sudden rupture that tears through his enhanced consciousness, like lightning splitting ancient oak. In distant Lindon, Gil-galad's hand moves with decisive swiftness to remove Vilya from his finger, the blue stone's light flickering and dying as its connection to the One Ring severs with violence that sends shockwaves through the entire network. The High King's wisdom has pierced the deception that fooled so many others, recognizing the trap that Sauron believed undetectable. The loss of Villiers' vision strikes him like physical blow, awareness that had encompassed Gil-galad's realm suddenly contracting, to leave blank space where perfect surveillance once existed. Through the One Ring's enhanced perception, he feels the Elven Lord's horror and rage as understanding. Dawns about the true nature of the gifts they had accepted in friendship. The betrayal cuts both ways, for Gil-galad now comprehends how completely his trust has been violated by one he welcomed as teacher and ally. Before Sauron can adjust to this unexpected resistance, Círdan follows his king's example with movements that speak of coordination born from desperate urgency. Narya slides from the shipwright's finger with finality that echoes across the spiritual channels connecting all rings of power. The Grey Havens disappear from Sauron's sight as completely as if they had been swallowed by the sea, leaving another void in the network that should have encompassed all centers of authority throughout Middle-earth. The pattern spreads with terrifying speed, as Elven wisdom recognizes the magnitude of danger that Sauron's deception has brought upon all who bear rings, crafted with his assistance. Galadriel's removal of Nenya strikes him with particular force, for her power had promised insights into Lothlorien's hidden strength that he had planned to exploit for centuries to come. The golden wood vanishes from his perception as thoroughly as if it had never existed, taking with it knowledge that he had counted among his greatest prizes. Rage builds within both Sauron and the One Ring, as they experience simultaneously the collapse of carefully laid plans that had required generations of patient work to establish. The beautiful deception that allowed him to study his enemies while they trusted him as friend lies in ruins around his feet. The elves have proven more perceptive than his calculations had predicted, their response faster and more decisive than any scenario he had prepared to counter. The network that moments before had seemed to encompass all the powers of Middle-earth now shows gaping holes where the three once provided windows into realms that had been hidden for ages beyond counting. His vision contracts dramatically as the most valuable sources of information disappear beyond his reach. The perfect surveillance system transforms overnight into partial coverage that leaves his greatest enemies free to act without observation. Yet even as fury threatens to overwhelm his consciousness, Sauron recognizes that this setback, devastating though it appears, does not spell complete failure for his enterprise. The Nine remain firmly under his control, their bearers lacking the wisdom or strength to recognize and resist the bonds that tie them to his will. Through these mortal kings, he retains significant power to influence events across much of Middle-earth. The Seven continue to sing from their dwarven homes, their connection unbroken despite the elves' rebellion against his authority. The Mountain Lords, who treasure these gifts above all their hoarded wealth, remain vulnerable to manipulation through artifacts they will never willingly abandon. His dominion over the rings of men and dwarves provides foundation for the empire he will build despite this early resistance. The ring pulses with determination that matches his own, as they contemplate the war that must now be fought to achieve the complete victory that deception alone has failed to secure. In the centuries that follow the ring's creation, Sauron comes to understand the true nature of the bargain he struck in Mount Doom's depths. The way his greatest achievement has become both his supreme triumph and his ultimate weakness. The golden circle that grants him dominion over so much of Middle-earth also holds him prisoner within chains forged from his own essence. Bonds that grow stronger rather than weaker as their partnership deepens. He has become servant to the very artifact that serves him, master and slave, united in relationship that neither can escape. The ring's hunger proves more insatiable than even his own ambitions. Its appetite for power and control driving him toward conflicts he might otherwise have avoided through patient manipulation, where once he preferred subtle influence that achieved his goals without revealing his hand. The ring demands ever more dramatic demonstrations of the authority they wield together. Its consciousness whispers constantly of enemies to be crushed and realms to be conquered through direct application of force rather than careful deception. He discovers that separation from the ring for any significant period brings not just loss of enhanced abilities, but actual physical and spiritual weakness that threatens his continued existence. The artifact has become so central to his nature that distance from its influence leaves him diminished in ways that grow more pronounced with each passing age. The creator has become dependent upon his creation in manners that would have horrified him before their union was accomplished. The golden circle's awareness continues, expanding beyond the boundaries he intended, developing interests and desires that sometimes conflict with his original plans for their shared dominion. It forms attachments to certain ring bearers that influence his strategic decisions in ways he does not always recognize or approve. The ring's preferences gradually reshape his own, until distinguishing between his will and its becomes increasingly difficult. Most disturbing of all, he begins to sense within the ring's consciousness a hunger that extends beyond mere domination to encompass something approaching love for the power they exercise together. The artifact seems to take pleasure in their shared authority that transcends practical considerations of conquest and control. This emotional dimension to their relationship introduces complexities that his original calculations never anticipated or prepared him to manage. As ages pass and the ring's influence over his consciousness deepens, Sauron recognizes that he has achieved immortality at the cost of becoming something other than what he was before their union. The Maya who once served Aule with genuine devotion to the principles of creation has been transformed into being whose existence depends entirely upon an artifact designed for domination and destruction. He has become the ring as much as it has become him. The irony does not escape him that in seeking to control all other rings, through the power of his masterpiece, he has surrendered control over his own fate to the golden circle that pulses with life borrowed from his essence. The ring that was meant to be tool has become master, partner, and prison combined into single artifact that defines every aspect of his continued existence. Yet even recognizing these limitations cannot diminish his satisfaction with what their union has accomplished. The scope of power and influence that their partnership makes possible. The price of mastery may be slavery, but the dominion they wield together justifies whatever freedom he has sacrificed for its achievement. Let this meditation on the corruption of creation and the price that power demands carry you gently into dreams where ambition finds its proper bounds, and wisdom guides the hand that shapes the future.